Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the new review. We're
The new
resurrecting
review
the
show,
series.
yeah, yeah. So guys, if you don't know, I do a lot of movie trailers. I do a lot of Netflix shows, TV shows, along with gaming, and so does the Knight, my friend Daniel. He is a expert, as I would like to call him, in DC superhero shows. He's always got very good opinions on things. So we kind of wanted to do something just to express our interest in some old shows since we're in quarantine. Everybody's kind of trying to find stuff to watch. Uh, we're going to go back and we're going to be reviewing The Flash season one because that's both one of our favorite shows and one of the first, I guess, this DC new era of these DC and Marvel shows. This is our first one we watched, was The Flash.
So, this show, as it says in my poster, premiered October 7th. I think it was just called the pilot, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Season one, fast enough, maybe.
Yeah. Then, so you open up, you see how the Arrow episode, which was really cool how they did that. The Arrow episode was kind of a backdoor pilot to this. If you rewatch, what was it, Arrow season 2?
Right, right.
So you see Barry and Arrow, then you watch this and you see his world expanded upon, and that's how they open this up. You don't really see him get struck by lightning until like the last second half of the episode.
Right, right. And I think it shows him, he's in this coma, and he wakes up and it takes him a little bit before he really knows what's going on with his body, what's really going on with him. And I think they show his dad too. Am I right? They
Yes.
show his dad in the first episode. Okay, so I got some slides right here, just showing some pictures from episode one, and I thought they showed his dad and him talking to his dad in prison.
I believe in the beginning of the intro, which if you actually go back and watch Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi one, it's kind of a callback to it.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
He's like, I'm
Showing
Barry Allen, I'm the fastest man alive. So you see the murder of Nora Allen. Now, what struck me as odd here, I saw a man in yellow. Now, this is where the comic book in me came out. I was like, that's Reverse Flash.
Right, right.
He's like,
And
the man
Reverse
in
Flash
yellow.
is probably the most famous Flash villain. If people that don't know too much about the Flash, or probably don't know too much about DC or comic books or anything nerdy like this, they would probably know the Reverse Flash as one of Flash's most famous uh, villains. And I think the reason why I like this season so much was because of the Reverse Flash.
What was really cool about this season, so there were subtle changes as the season went on. There were subtle changes to the suit, and even his running. His very first episode of him running, he doesn't have lightning behind him. He's just like a blur because he's not moving too fast. Like he's maybe going like 100 miles per hour or something.
And CW did a really good job with the detail. I'm glad you mentioned something about that. About the CW, we understand they're on a small budget and people, give the show flat because of some things look cheesy or corny at times. But just some little details like he noticed about the lightning coming out and those slow changes. I mean, you really got to give your hats off to CW for, recognizing something like that.
And even like we'll talk about in later seasons, like Barry gets faster each season. So there's a build up there. So and it all starts right here. So like his first episode, he's not moving crazy. He's like going like 100, maybe 200 miles per hour. Then I think 3 episodes later, he's moving. He says, "I'm moving 357 miles per hour." So like each episode, like he talks about him going a little bit faster. He's doing a little bit more with his powers. You get a lot of the powers from the comics, like with phasing. He's running on water, running up walls. He's doing the arm vortex. I cannot remember what it's called.
Yes, and the thing is with season one, and I think it might scare people away from a show like this, is there are so many characters, and there's so much going on, like behind the scenes and these little hints. And I mean, you got this whole group working at Star Labs. You have, I think in episode, let me check. You got these new villains that are coming in. You got the army, because they think the army is doing, these dirty things, running these operations. I'm trying to remember the first episode, but I'm trying to get it. I think it's 4.
He
You get to
fought
see
Weather
Doctor
Wizard.
Snart. You get to start. Yeah, you get to see Snart. All right, you get to see Snart. Leonard Snart. And he's a villain, of course. But it's like it just throws so many people at you. You get Felicity. She comes in very early. I really didn't realize that Felicity was on Flash on episode 4.
Really?
Episode 4, Felicity is on the Flash, which is kind of crazy to me. I didn't really think that she was on there that quick. I guess they were just trying to tie that into Arrow very quickly, just to kind of probably get some Arrow fans onto the Flash. Is what I figured why they wanted to get her on there so fast.
And speaking of villains, one of the first few episodes had like one of the best villains this season. Multiplex. Remember that dude?
Yes, Multiplex.
What made him such an interesting villain is because of his motivation. He was trying to save his dying wife, and he was trying to regrow her an organ, so he was experimenting with cloning and multiplication technology, and the dark matter hit, which is also really cool because like the dark matter is responsible for most of these villains, and it all ties back to it.
And if you're not familiar with the Flash, guys, it goes very quick. So you go through these villains almost every 1 or 2 episodes. There's a new villain, or there's a new face, or there's a new somebody that you're going to see in the first season at least. Maybe in the other seasons you get some bigger villains that stick around. Like we said, Reverse Flash is the main villain, and he is in the whole season. You just kind of don't know he's the main villain for a while, because he is Harrison Wells, who is their friend. He's he's close to Barry, he's close to everybody, but he is in it the whole season. But we do have these smaller villains that come in, like Multiplex, and I think that's one thing that made season 1 so good was these little villains like Multiplex. I just think you had better villains in this first season than you did in all the other seasons. To me, you did. They were the most interesting.
That's very true because like one of the most like heartbreaking things was for Multiplex. He's like, yeah, this company stole my research. He got all the reap and the glory, and I got to bury my best friend. And he's like, I have the power to be anywhere, but I'm alone.
And I think one good thing like this show does that made me so interested, they really humanize Barry. They started off very good humanizing Barry as this normal guy that, wasn't just this big superhero. You can normalize with him, that he's just a regular guy. And his dad's in prison. You got that backstory. So, he's relatable. People can relate to this Flash, I think, better than other Flashes that I've seen.
Also, like, they really did good to differentiate Barry from Oliver Queen, because, like, when Arrow started, you're introduced to Oliver Queen as, like, he's like Bruce Wayne, he's got parties, he's got girls. Well, Barry just wants one girl, and it's the girl he can never have.
Right. It was good that they brought in Flash during this, because you're right, it was polar opposite. So if you're an Arrow fan, you're watching Arrow, and you're getting this dark, gritty show, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got Flash coming in right behind it. It's a good balance there, because you can go from Arrow to Flash and get something different. I thought that was, it was 2 different things. Like you mentioned, they brought in 2 different styles of a hero, which I think really probably caught people's attention from Arrow to watch Flash.
And one of the things, like, this show does take liberties that were not in the comics, and it gave Barry a team in Star Labs, which I thought was a very interesting idea. Not only that, the team that he got were future comic book characters. You got Cisco Ramon, who would be Vibe, and you got Caitlin Snow, who would turn into the villain Killer Frost.
Right, which is a really good idea, because just to get those main characters in there, to get these other superhero, these meta-humans into the story with Flash was a really good idea. And one of them you have in this is Caitlin's fiance, Ronnie, which you see that at the very beginning of the season, he evaporates, as we think, and eventually, he comes back as
Firestorm,
a little different, in which he is inside of him and another guy have
Martin Stein
bodies, Mark Stein, and they are Firestorm, which, that aspect of it, getting to see how Firestorm was born, which, he's a character that goes on to be on other shows for the CW. So it is a good way how they mix their characters.
And like this season did a lot of good things with like teasing you of the next villain at the end of the episode. Because I remember seeing in the very first episode, you see a cage that says Grodd, Gorilla Grodd, who would appear a few episodes down the road at the end of another episode. He's like in a sewer and he just like annihilates a sewer.
They always leave in those little sneak peeks, for people that really know the character. They leave in those sneak peeks for you to see those little Easter eggs coming up, and you kind of maybe suspect somebody else coming onto the show. Another character that had a pretty big role, I thought, during this season was Iris's boyfriend. What's his name?
Eddie
I can't
Thawne.
remember his name. All right, he is Eddie Thawne. All right, and like we've been talking about the Reverse Flash, he is a relative of Eobard Thawne. So really, he plays a pivotal role in the season just because of what his last name is. He is a relative of Reverse Flash, and Reverse Flash's whole thing is using the Flash for his own good, and he plays a pivotal role into Reverse Flash trying to turn him against Barry and against the Flash, because he does find out that the Flash is Barry Allen. Like he figures out that that's the guy that's in the suit.
I think the last person to figure it out was Iris.
I think so. There was a scene where Reverse Flash takes her boyfriend away, and Barry, goes to Iris. And when Barry talked to people he knew, he vibed. Or not vibed. What is it when he's
Phasing.
vibrating? Phasing. He's phasing. So people can't see his face, and his voice is kind of distorted. That's when she kind of figures it out, is during that scene. I think one of the craziest scenes to me is when Harrison Wells has a secret lab in Star Labs where Barry and everybody operates. It is literally a wall right behind them. His suit, everything you need to know about the Reverse Flash is in a wall 2 feet away from them, which is crazy to even think about, that they're just there this whole time. And Gideon is back there with all this info, and Reverse Flash, his whole suit, his whole mission, everything is right behind him.
Now, I'm very excited to talk about Reverse Flash because this is why I love CW. There's little details, like you said earlier. There's little details they give you. So, you get Reverse Flash, who's really scary. This is what made you take the Flash show serious, is because they made Reverse Flash scary. Like, he's distorted, his eyes are glowing, he's speaking just weirdly, he's acting like an animal. And when you see his suit, it is the polar opposite of Barry. It's red and yellow. I mean, Barry's is red and yellow, Reverse Flash is yellow and red.
Right.
He has more, if you look at Reverse Flash's suit, he has a more padded leather suit, while Barry is more cloth, because they're opposites.
And, this whole time you're seeing, if you haven't figured it out, you're thinking, man, something's up with Dr. Wells.
Yeah.
Like, something's up with him. And here's the thing with me. I've watched every season. Me and Daniel, we've both watched every season except this one coming out, just because we always binge watch it on Netflix, and it is been delayed because of coronavirus. But, so taking season 6 away, Harrison Wells is one of my favorite characters on the entire show. Like, every time he's in a scene, it is just very good. He's an incredible actor, as you're going to see down the road. But he is just one of the best characters, and he's so likable is the thing. And then this whole time, you're figuring out, okay, he's the Reverse Flash, and kind of like the whole time you're figuring out, Barry's figuring it out too. But they do throw in, like episode 21, they do throw in Gorilla Grodd. And then you start thinking about him, and you kind of forget about the Reverse Flash for a little bit. They do a good job of throwing in other villains to kind of keep you, distracted from the main story here, which is the Reverse Flash.
And like, what was really cool about the Reverse Flash identity, because I remember like in episode 3, the same episode as Multiplex, you see him talking to Simon Stagg, who was a character in the comics. He was the same person he was in the show. He was not a nice guy. You see him get out of the wheelchair and just stab him. You're just like, what?
Insane.
Then, so, like, and they really don't tell you outright that, yeah, he's Reverse Flash, because I was thinking, Wells is more likely Reverse Flash, but I gotta look at Eddie, too, because Eddie shares a name as Eobard Thawne. So I'm thinking, because they did not tell you the name Eobard Thawne until, like, later episodes.
And in this one, it's crazy because you get to see Barry figure out that Reverse Flash killed his mom. And Barry actually is one of the last episodes in season 1. He goes back and he relives it. He goes back to the scene where Reverse Flash kills his mom, and which is like one of the darkest, deepest episodes of the whole season. He goes back in time to watch his mom die, which was one of the most powerful episodes I think they've ever done. Just from an emotional standpoint of it.
And what was really cool about that episode is it gives you a tease for a later season. So you think Barry, Eobard wants to go home. Right. That's his main thing. He wants to get Barry fast enough he can go home.
Right. He wants to go home, and kind of just to, tailing, getting on the end of the season. Barry has to have a lot of help to beat Reverse Flash in this first season. I mean, he has to have a team, which was very smart, for him to have a team. And they eventually come up with an idea to trap the Reverse Flash is how they're going to stop him. They're going to trap him.
Now, that one trapping episode, if you remember, I think we kind of skimmed over this, but there was 2 cool parts. Remember, like, when he was in 2 places at once to throw you off?
Right, yes.
Then there was always manipulating him. Kills Cisco Ramon.
And he was having dreams Cisco was having dreams that Reverse Flash was going to kill him, or that Harrison Wells was going to kill him. So all these people are kind of all having the same feelings that, hey, something's not right with Harrison Wells. You got these reporters coming. You got Barry thinking it. You got Cisco having dreams about it. Everybody's kind of got that feeling. Something's not right.
And also talking about his, he hadn't witnessed his mom's death. Like, you see Future Flash just turn and look at past Barry and just kind of like shake his head at him like, no, don't save her.
Right.
This was a big tease for season 3.
Right. And season 1, like I said, guys, I have not seen season 6, so I can't really comment on that. But I remember The Flash season 1, changed my whole outlook, I think, on superhero shows. I really hadn't seen a lot of superhero shows in this fashion before The Flash. I hadn't watched Arrow. So Flash was the first one that I saw personally, which I know Arrow, I watched it too. And I got to say, we'll get into comparing Flash and Arrow, some of these other CW shows very soon. We're not going to get into that today, as we've already talked enough about season 1 of The Flash. But there's a lot to talk about when you get into The Flash and all these characters and all these storylines and all these villains. There's just a lot going on. And I think it can be overwhelming for people at times trying to get into a show like this, just because there's so much going on and there's so many episodes. Season 1 had 23 episodes, which when people click on that Netflix and they see 23 episodes for the first season, I think they kind of get scared. They kind of get overwhelmed. It's like, that's a lot of the episodes.
But those episodes kind of fly by because it gets you in the show.
They do fly by. They do fly by. That's why I choose to binge watch them, because it's just everything's so fresh and you just fly through them. So me and Dan, we definitely recommend The Flash season 1. If you're looking for, any sort of, superhero show, I mean, you really can't go wrong with starting out with The Flash. I think it's a very good starter show. And I think it's got a lot of elements, different elements than just, superhero fighting bad guys. I think they have a lot of drama. They have, some dark times, especially in this season 1 with his dad being in prison, his mom's dead. I think they have a lot more stuff going on in season 1 that somebody would like and kind of latch onto instead of your typical superhero beats up some bad guys.
Then you got the hero who's just not immediately getting the girl. Like, you don't even get the girl
right
the whole season.
Right. I mean, it takes the whole season before she even realizes, this is him. He's the Flash. But we're going to wrap that up, guys. I know we talked about a lot of things. But me and the Knight, we want to start doing things like this. We're going to start talking about really kind of, we'll talk about some new things, but we kind of just want to talk about some things that we have knowledge of, that we like. Me and him, we talk back and forth all the time about this stuff. We text about it all the time. We kind of just want to get a crowd out there that can, get into some of these conversations with us. Maybe, some guys that if you enjoyed this video and you enjoy talking about, this DC Marvel video game type stuff, these conversations we're going to be having, maybe we get some more people on here talking with us. Just drop some comments below. Let us know what you think. And we're definitely open to the possibility of getting more people in the Discord talking about these, suggest more topics. I know we've been talking about some topics. We've been talking about the new Batman coming out with Robert Pattinson, and we got some ideas, and we've heard some things about what they might do with that. We watch Titans on DC, so anything DC, Marvel, any type of things like that, we are open to talk about. We're going to talk about some old video games, like series that we like that's kind of fell apart, or maybe some video game series that we're looking forward to. Just a whole variety of topics that we're going to be talking about. And like I said, if you want to get in on this stuff, if you got suggestions that something we should watch, maybe something we haven't seen, that's good. And just just some background information. The reason why this little show or this little thing we're gonna do is it's very good because of the age gap between me and the Knight. We are. He was born in 2000. I was born in 1991. So you kind of got two different generations talking about a hero. In which me and Daniel we agree about Flash season 1, but we're definitely going to get into some things we don't agree about because, there's a Spider-Man issue. He likes, the new Spider-Man. I like Tobey Maguire, which is huge topics on Twitter. So we're going to get into some of that stuff, who we like the best, what they could have done different, all kinds of topics. Daniel, anything you want to add before we cut this off?
Well, kind of like what you just said, I'd really recommend The Flash because this is, like you, this is what got me into superhero shows. I did not watch Arrow. This showed me what a superhero show could be. It had the attention to detail. It had a great story. There was multiple things happening. There's a lot of stuff for comic fans. And a lot of things that you said and teased about, like, this is going to be something new and this is going to be something different. We could get a lot of people here, and I need you guys to kind of stay tuned and just give suggestions. Like, what would you like to see? Spider-Man's gonna be the more interesting ones. I kind of agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's for sure. We'll have to plan a special day for that on the Spider-Man one, because it's a hot topic on Twitter. People ordering movies. Which ones they like the best. But that's it, guys. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel, EzPackAttack. You subscribe to the Knight 731. I'll put both our subscriptions on my channel, and you can go to his channel as well, the Knight 731, and check it out and do the same. We'll both be posting this video, so go watch it on both. Go give it a like, a thumbs up, go put some comments on it. Hopefully we'll get maybe two different crowds, crowd on his, crowd on mine. We can kind of mix and share our thoughts. But that's it, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Goodbye, everybody.